Right, I pushed the right button and we're going to go live. So I'm going to pin all of us so that we are all here. Catel looking good in this morning. And myself. Can I do it on myself?
It is a gray and windy morning.
Right. Checking. You're all seeing the four of us, right?
I'm not seeing myself, but that's fine.
It should be like a square with four
Yeah,
people.
it's probably because I have. Yeah, if I do show myself, I can see. But I tried to hide myself. That way, I don't look at myself when I talk, which is better.
Okay, we are live, so we will begin in a minute or two. People are beginning to join.
Yeah, it's probably because I have. Yeah, if I do show myself, I can see. But I tried to hide myself.
It's a very long delayed echo.
Okay, so putting up the screensaver. Okay. And we'll go live. I mean, we're already live on LinkedIn. People are joining, but we'll really begin in earnest in 3 minutes. What do you guys want to discuss in the meanwhile? So, Catel, you were saying it's a windy morning. It's a dreary morning.
It is. I'm a bit worried. There's a huge delay when I'm talking. So, can you hear me when I speak right now?
Yes,
Yep.
the delay
Okay.
was
All right.
LinkedIn.
Okay.
So this is starting in a minute or two.
Okay.
So people are already hearing us, but they know we are in rev up mode, bringing up our energies.
All right. Do we need to keep people entertained while this is happening? Is that?
I need to keep you entertained. The people.
You need to keep me entertained. Okay. Well, I'm fine. I have my cup of tea, so I'm good. You know. Hi, everyone.
Okay. So we had about 199 people registered across the platforms. We'll see how many joined today. Obviously, many of them are localization professionals. Funny that if you write media localization, it attracts the people from the text localization. If you write subtitling, it attracts the real media localization professionals. In the next live, I'm going to write subtitling for dummy.
And just because of this conference, I will have to update my LinkedIn page. I haven't touched it in the last 10 years, and people internally said, hey, the picture is not right anymore, and your job is not the right one anymore.
So you had more hair on the previous picture.
Oh. Yes.
Sorry.
That's true, but it's okay.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 1 minute to start. We just start. I know that on let me check the situation on LinkedIn if anybody is there and listening to us already. And, let's see. Yeah, we are live. It's a few people joining, not yet too many. I'm going to monitor the chat on LinkedIn as we go. So if you have something to say to us where you're joining from or what you're interested in, please do so. We're expecting about 80 people live out of 199 registered. We're missing one person for the round number. Maybe somebody will break this injustice and join us.
Is that a sore spot for you, Konstantin?
Yeah, it's always sport. Yesterday we had an event with the American Translator Association, and they rallied up 850 people, and 450 showed up. So it was fantastic feeling that so many people were interested in GenAI. Today it's subtitling and media localization, so we have a smaller, quirkier crowd. It's time we may begin. So Welcome, everyone. This is the official beginning. All the banter you've heard so far was as a warm-up. I'm happy to introduce to you today the topic and the panel. The topic is generative AI and writing prompts for media localization, where text localization has been explored in the past year, how to apply these models. Media has been unfairly left out, and without a good reason. Today, we're going to rectify that and correct it. And we have two parts. The first part is kind of inspirational. You will see how to apply GenAI in media localization, or at least how people think it may be applied today, because the research and discovery are ongoing. And in the second part, we go for the practical thing. We will go live with some prompting, and we will write prompts live with all the problems it entails. Of course, the large language models will fail us at the last moment. Something might work. So we will go for trial and error with you today to see how it can actually be done by anyone. You don't need to be an engineer, and you can get some results immediately. Whether these are going to be very, very practical results or slightly practical or not at all, we shall see today. All right, so the topic is prompts. Prompts are covering only text now, and I will focus on the text today. Let me introduce the panelists. First, Catel, I want to tell you the story that this whole event has been done for you. It's a kind of platonic love.
Wow, no pressure. That's great.
No pressure. So the story is Catel was running Netflix operations in subtitling, dubbing, media localization for a long time. And I was trying to win your attention for a few years. You know, I've been one of the 3,100 unanswered messages on your LinkedIn. Now that there is no barrier separating us or putting us on the different sides of the barricades, finally we can do something together.
That makes me sound really, really bad. Like I never answered an email from you. Wow, thanks.
Just to show that this has been
really
years
kind.
in the making for you. This is a surprise. The real engineers on today's call are Antoine and Christian. Antoine works at TransPerfect, and Antoine, you're in Paris. So
Yes.
French, you're French. I'm half-baked French. So we have.
You're French, Constantine. You are too.
Half-baked. Anyway, so Antoine has been in media localization for a long time. I'll probably should give you the floor, and you can give a few fun facts about your work in the past in the next minute. So Antoine is in TransPerfect in engineering for media localization. He knows the field inside out. And Christian is at Accolade, a French company, but Christian is not French.
Not yet.
Not French. Not yet. Yeah, that's right. That's a good way to put it.
French. Also specializing in media localization. I know, Christian, you've been working mostly on synthetic dubbing with synthetic voice, but generative AI in media, I think, comes under your jurisdiction.
It does, yes.
Okay, so this was a quick introduction. Why don't we go around the table, do the opening statements, and start with a fun fact about your work. Anything I missed in the introduction, because the introduction was really short. Who would like to start?
Ladies first.
Oh,
maybe
okay.
Antoine is ready, right? Because Antoine.
Okay, Antoine is ready. Go ahead.
Okay.
Always.
Antoine,
So,
the floor is yours, please.
Yes, but you said almost everything. So I'm French, you will hear it, I'm sure. I work as an engineer for TransPerfect, formerly Venti. We have been in the localization business for the last 10 years, I think. We really started with the launch of Netflix in France. I think it was 2014, something like that. And it was a big thing in France. And most of my work was to make everything compliant for Ketel to be happy. Because of all the... Yes, you are the one. Maybe it's too early to talk about it, but we have tested machine translation for the past 5 years. Should we talk about it, or we just make all the introduction?
Let's go with the opening statements. I think we had a brief introduction, and we'll do more through the opening statements. Let's go into the topic.
So we have tested machine translation for the past 5 years, and it was always the same result, not good enough. Is it out of bad faith or not? I don't know. But when we asked translators, do you prefer starting with automatic translation or start from scratch? It was always the same thing. We prefer to start from scratch. We were very excited with the launch of ChatGPT about 1 year ago, mostly because we could give it some instruction, some context. And like when translating to English, please convert all the units, like this kind of stuff. But it seems that it's not only for translation that we could use ChatGPT. We are discovering a lot of other users, like quality check, like automatic annotations. And it's even more exciting that translation itself. I just have a quick example. There was a movie, there was a young guy on screen saying, "I love movies with BB, capital B, capital B." And if you ask a translator what BB stands for, probably they won't know. If they are old enough, maybe they will know that. And if you ask ChatGPT, it will tell you it's probably Brigitte Bardot, a famous French actress. Wow. And there's a lot we could do with that. So this is where we are. So it's exciting for translation, but not only for translation. There are many, many other users we are still discovering.
Antoine, so let's flesh out a little bit how machine translation failed in subtitling, right? So Bardot being BB is something not any MT engine can probably recognize.
Maybe they can, I'm not sure, but the thing is with machine translation, they did not respect all technical constraints, mostly. It's mostly because of that. It was not that bad, but you can't give it a tone. You can't ask him to shorten the answer to 40 characters because, or 42 for Netflix, for example. Meaning, I think it was, and especially at Transperfect, because they are with usual text translation, it works quite well. In our business, it's more about adaptation than real translation, because the text has to be shorter to fit the readability. We have only 2 lines of 42 characters, and everything has to fit in. So machine translation was not very good with it. And there was no context. There is no way to explain BB, or maybe it is with a glossary. But so it was a big step for us to use an LLM instead of usual machine translation. And hopefully translators will learn to like working with it, because for now, machine translation, it was not their stuff.
I remember a few years back when one of the large media localization houses decided to get the economies from using machine translation. They pushed for 30% discounts if subtitlers used machine translation. They had a full-fledged strike on their hands, and that notion completely failed. And since then, I've never heard a case of anyone who could effectively operationalize machine translation and do in subtitles what they did in text. So it was surprising, right, that in the text area, the technology has arrived. It has caused some pain, but it was also a path of progress, right? Machine translation is firmly now in text, and there's more and more what they call post-editing happening every year. In subtitles, it never happened.
No, because it's not retranslation. I think it's more about adaptation. You have to make it fit our technical constraints, and there's a lot of rewriting, not only translation.
Absolutely. Let's switch to Christian. Christian, your company in particular, I have long interesting story with Accolade, has been extremely successful at operationalizing machine translation for text. And it's been going on for some years. Then you bought Ubicus, which had an internal machine translation division. I've been to that division. It's very very quirky, interesting, because you had these big servers with graphics cards stuffed into them, open up, and fans pointing in that direction to cool
Yeah.
them down while they churn the data. Did the same arrive with subtitles? I know you're strongly entering the subtitling field. How's your experience from machine translation to GenAI? Anything changed or not?
Well, you know, it's great to hear Antoine's experience as well. With Accolade, our media experience is looking at a lot of corporate entities. So when we look at subtitling for corporate work, we can feel like there's some less of the adaptation and creative constraints that are more necessary and a more entertaining and entertainment field. So we find we still find that there are plenty of challenges with machine translation engines running through these this kind of content, and so machine translation is not one where we can apply the same kind of efficiencies that we see with text and documentation work. So we found that is kind of aligned with Antoine's experience there. But with corporate, we do have a little bit more leeway in it. So it's not something that we can just discount completely. With the rise of LLM, of course, we see breakthroughs in a lot of options, both in, as Antoine mentioned, QA options, but also that ability to kind of help find those constraints that we want to apply and allow the linguist to have a better start in their process of finalizing that kind of content.
All right, so it's still in the making. Machine translation is still not there in media localization, even though you really know how to work with it in text and you've built all the tools there. In subtitling, it continues to be
Still a challenge.
behind. One step behind.
Yeah. Right, and it's the constraints of the medium there, of course. As we talked about, a character limitation, a line, but it becomes beyond that. If we look at all the rules and considerations we have to put into play, because the way we're absorbing that content is completely different than the way we would absorb document. We can scan a document quickly, and here we have to wait for the action to take place. In this video, there's a time constraint that we have to adhere to religiously almost. So those kind of constraints, and that can be a challenge to talk about with clients who are not familiar with this. And why can't we just apply a machine? I want a raw machine translation of my subtitles out there. And we have to manage that expectation a little bit more.
And there's another constraint that a big part of the information is the picture itself. Meaning, if someone is, let's say, when you use "you," is it a plural or is it a formality? And the only way to get it is to look at the picture itself. And this is meaning picture contains a lot of the information that is needed for translation.
Yeah,
the context. Yeah, exactly.
All right, so we established that machine translation largely failed, and despite years of really the best people working on it, it didn't penetrate into subtitling, not into the media, right? It is there in TED Talks, it's there in e-learning, it's there in I don't know, explainer videos or something automatically generated on YouTube. Definitely, all these markets are covered with machine translation, but not the work of professional subtitlers. Now, GenAI prompts, and do we have a new shot? Perhaps, Catel, would you like to kind of introduce what's going on? What are the discussions? What's the what are the processes that GenAI can address, and can it succeed where machine translation has failed?
That's a great question. So hi everyone. I'm Catel. I've been in the loc field for my whole career. I'm currently a localization and globalization consultant. I was with Netflix for 7 years, where I was part of the globalization team, which is the team responsible for, I'm going to say, all the written localization. So not the dubbing, but all the subtitlings for sure, and everything that you see on the product as well. I think, the question around MT, so Antoine and Christian have talked about this. There has been some work done with MT for sure. Like, we cannot ignore this. And I think in terms of efficiency, it has brought some positive effect. And there were companies, I remember at the time, iFlix, a company in Asia, really using MT heavily.
I think they worked with Omniscient, right? Or with
possibly, yeah. I don't remember. But I mean, where the result in terms of quality, and I don't like to use the word quality, but in terms of what the expectations were of the viewers, and really, were you able to enjoy the content or not? Was it really filling its purpose? That's another question. I know a company like Netflix has been pretty open about the use of assisted translation, which is a mix of MT and TM. And again, to bringing efficiency in that process. I think with AI, with GenAI, what we are seeing is the next step in this, and really, I think about it in a way that's not restrictive. You can really think about the different pieces that you are interacting with, in different workflows, because it's not just about translation, and I put that in quotation mark, obviously, because that's the translation and adaptation is like the most probably the most challenging part of the work in subtitling, for instance. But there's other workflows within the work that needs to be done in media localization that could benefit probably from media loc. And a lot of people are looking at this stuff and seeing, okay, where can we bring it so that we are more efficient, so that we are doing things faster, but also things that maybe we're not able to do properly before, and how can GenAI help us? So if you think about the example that Antoine gave earlier with Bibi, I mean, I'm old, so I'm like, yeah, I know what that is right away. You didn't have to tell me, and then my first thought was like, well, a translator should know this, but how can we help people to actually? Yeah, Antoine, you were about to say something.
No, but a young guy, let's say young translator in Japan, how should he know about Bibi?
Of course, and that's where it becomes really interesting, because if you think about that kind of information, really, it should be in the template. When you create your template, it's not just about having the right timing and the right transcript from the audio. It's also making sure that annotations are included, and you are giving all the tools that are necessary to the translator, to the subtitler who's going to be doing the job, and that kind of context is really, really crucial, because as you say, I'm the age I am, and I am French, and that seemed obvious to me. But you're right, a Japanese translator who's doing maybe either French to Japanese, but more likely they're doing English to Japanese, because the English template was created from the French. They have no idea what that is. So how can we help using AI, putting that information in templates, which will then not just benefit that guy in Japan, but benefit all the other translators who might be working in different languages on that piece of content. So that's the kind of stuff beyond the technical aspects that I think are really crucial. And that's the kind of stuff when you're thinking about scaling operations. And a lot of streamers need to scale, because it's kind of, I'm not going to say easy, but it's more simple to be thorough and to be very accurate when you have a handful of titles to manage per year, as opposed to thousands. And this is the situation that a lot of streamers are on. It might not be thousands, but it certainly is going to be hundreds for a lot of streamers, especially when they have global ambitions. And so, that's the place where, how can we bring GenAI to actually complement, the work that the translators do, but also, the template creators, the project managers, so you know, how can we help the translators to also, of course, with the technical aspects of the work. I mean, subtitling is especially challenging because it's a mix of creative and technical, you know, skills that you need to do this. And so anything that we can help the subtitlers with, you know, on the technical aspects is a huge plus, because then they can focus on how to actually render and adapt the language and not worry too much about, you know, is it going to fit, you know, and the
Is
the
BB
language
and Bridget
and all this kind of
Birdo?
stuff. So that's really, I think, where we can help. Some of this is already automated. You know, if you use a good subtitling tool, it will tell you if you're over the character limit and stuff like this. These are the simple ones, but you know, they could be more complex one that help us with this. It could also help, you know, telling you, well, you are using a language which is not really adapted for that piece of content. This is a period piece set in 18th century England, and you are talking like if you are, you know, in the Paris suburbs right now. That's not the right language. And if you are feeding the model the right information and have the right data, then, you know, that could be something that, and it's an obvious example I'm giving you, but in my time, we've seen some things that were really not adapted that would cause undue offense, and the translator didn't even know that. Because their culture, because their background, because everybody is coming with their own biases, and you can write a lot of guidelines, and those are very important. But if you feed those to the model, who then can be the extra pairs of eyes for you and really help you get you to the right place. I think that's really how we should be thinking about using GenAI more than doing translation, in my view, because that's the creative part really that should be left to the translator, but with enhanced, you know, experience, like those tools that help them get to a better result.
Creative assistance. This is the perfect segue
Yes,
for us to
exactly.
see something.
Oh, you're
Antoine,
welcome.
would you be comfortable to show us a little bit of how you do the creative assistance? Because how is the main question, and you're already providing some answers.
Sorry, can you repeat? You want
Could
me
you
to
show us some of the
in
things
real
that
time?
you're doing?
No, I'm not ready to do it, but I can explain what I did. And one of as samples Catel told about is very good, is automatic annotations. And LLMs, they have so many, you know, their database is so big that they know about everything. And we did it automatic annotation for the template. It works so well. And just with simple questions, and we'll talk about that. And the question was, okay, just let us know if there is any ambiguity in the text itself. If a word could be awkward or difficult to understand to someone who is not French and that kind of stuff. And the quality of the results was really impressive. Meaning automatic annotation, automatic, like, yes, all that was very, and you could use it now. And as you said, it's a creative help. It's not, we're not taking their job. We are just making it easier.
In case we have somebody on the call who is not as a media professional, what is the template and what is automated annotation of the template?
Okay, Catel is the right one to answer that.
Sorry I'm not sure. You should go ahead, Antoine. Yeah.
Okay, so template usually, especially when we are targeting multiple languages. When let's say we will talk about Netflix. Now, when they release a movie, they will target like 30 languages. On some language pairs, like going from, let's say, French to Swahili, which is in Africa, it's almost impossible to find some translators. So we have to go to an English template, meaning we'll translate from French to English, because there are so many more English speakers than there are French speakers. What a shame. And in that case, this is the template. But the template, meaning it will be really translation as literal as we can of the French transcription. But then we will need to put all the information that is needed for the translators to be able to do his job. Like Brigitte Bardot. Brigitte Bardot, if he doesn't know about, we will tell him that Brigitte Bardot is a famous French actress. And in case of this translation, it could be replaced by a local celebrity, because maybe we don't want to keep Brigitte Bardot in that case. This is the template. This is the document that will be used by translators to do their job. Katel, did I explain correctly?
So it's kind of a transcript with notes on the sides about the different terminology, personas,
all
objects.
the context that is needed. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, your template is really what you need to. You cannot translate really and work on these subtitles before you have your template. It has the technical aspects and specifications, but also it should have annotations. Unfortunately, a lot of templates don't, or they don't have great annotations. And I think, especially if you are trying to operate at scale, as Antoine was saying, if you have 30 languages, not everybody is going to be aware of all the cultural specificities that you may have. So, if you have a Korean show being translated in English, well, the person who's doing Korean into English, they're probably aware of Korean culture, and they will be aware of mostly what's going on here. Although there could be like some content specific annotations that are needed, like who's this character and are they older or younger, and how that kind of stuff impacts the way that people speak in different languages and the form of address and this kind of stuff. But then when you actually expand this to more languages, if all of a sudden you need to translate this into Spanish or Russian or whatever, that cultural understanding is lost. And so you can come up with really, really bad things that can happen because you're not aware that, you should never call the body of water between Korea and Japan the Sea of Japan. If you're to Koreans,
I can think of some other
it's really offensive. And so there is a reason why in the piece of Korean content, this is not called the Sea of Japan. It's called the Eastern Sea. And if you're a translator who doesn't have that context, you'll be like, what the heck is this? I'm going to go on Google and check it. And it will tell you, that's the Sea of Japan. And there you go. You have a Spanish subtitle that says Sea of Japan. And the Korean content creator is not happy about that. And they shouldn't be, because that's offensive. So that's the kind of stuff that the template should stop. And I think GenAI can actually bring that information, can maybe bring flags and tell you, this is not what the translation should be. I don't know. And so there's, again, it's really helping you, achieve the right result and the right experience for your viewer.
Very pertinent in today's world. Except for templates. So template, we've established annotation, explanations for translators, warning flags. What else, Antoine, is going on? Are there other applications that you have come up with?
Mostly quality check, meaning exactly, we can ask, after translation, we can ask the LLMs to check for the quality of the translations. And it works very well with spell check. We can say anything about ChatGPT, but it's very good with typos and all that stuff. It does not make any typo. So it works very well. And you can also ask exactly what Katel said about, can you double check that this content is suitable for young children? And it's very impressive what it can do. This kind of, and what we like in Transperfect is this kind of stuff, usually you have to go to, linguists can do the prompting by themselves. Now they have superpowers. They don't have to go to the engineer and say, do them. No, hey. Just write it in plain words, natural language, and just ask it what you want, and it will work. Another sample I had a client of mine who came and he told me, okay, I lost my subtitles. And so the only way I found to get them back is to rip it from a DVD to make an OCR, but it is full of typos and mistakes. And what can you do? we ask ChatGPT to correct it, giving him the proper context, and just because it's exactly what it does perfectly well, meaning if there is a wrong character in a word, you will find it and write it properly. And it took only 5 minutes and $1 to fix it. Wow. So, and there are so many usage we can find to use it in our daily business. And as Ketel said, translation is just a small part of it and not the best one, I think.
And in your organization, is prompt engineering, I know you are doing a lot of prompt engineering and you're an expert prompt engineer, but
Sorry,
also
I'm what?
an expert prompt engineer.
No. I'm still a newbie. I'm still
and modest.
No. I'm still struggling to understand how it works, because sometimes you just change one word and the results will be completely different. No, I'm still struggling. I'm so happy when it works, but
do the linguists also use it? Is it like spreading to the linguists quickly?
Yes, but there are different levels of prompting, the task itself, then the context, and we are pushing them to give it the right context, not all the technical stuff, and that's all the right context. It's still a work in progress.
Understood. Okay, Christian, how about you? Would you like to show some of the things that your organization is working on, and perhaps show the use cases outside of translation? Not only translation, but what else? We named the templates, the explanations, the quality checks.
Right. So
parental guidance, this age ratings, which are very important to movies. What else can we glean from your experience?
Right. So we had premiered a tool based in concert with a client of ours, a use case that they had come up with, and we had researched what we wanted to do with this tool, and eventually it led to a presentation at Local 49 in Malmo, basically using video summarization. We're trying to expedite a process of taking long form video and being able to summarize that content in different ways. And so we worked on this with our client extensively, and then it was successful enough that we've looked at, pushing outside of just that single use case. And so I can show what we're talking about here. I think I just need to share my screen.
Go ahead. Since you cannot talk about it very freely, an outside person can. So I know you guys have been working with the top French TV channel on news summaries, right? So they make a news emission and out comes a summary written by the model.
Right. So there we go. So with this kind of tool, which is still in beta, of course, because we're looking at how it will affect different use cases and everything. But really, the main thought of it is we are uploading a video for this kind of summarization tool. And in this case, I've just uploaded a quick video earlier to push through the basic start of this kind of product and its ability to generate the output that we're hoping for. And right now we're starting off very simple. This is just ASR transcription of a video uploaded into the tool. And really, this is all just UI with the LLM prompting in the background. So this is something that our prompt engineers are looking at on how to improve, but really this is still all can be done within an LLM model. We just kind of made it more fancy with the UI, which is kind of where we're all going for this. And so in this, the transcript was pulled from the video itself. We have a smaller video just to make sure we're not going to eat up too much time here. And then the ability to edit this transcript if we need to. But the real case here is when we get into this summarization aspect of the video. And of course, this is where it's going to lean heavily on those LLM models. And because we like to experiment and kind of, Accolad's big push is always to use the best breed of technology here. So we have different models we can pull from. Maybe some of the models are better at other content than another. So we want to allow that option in here. And in this kind of UI setting, we can play with a lot of the different values here. I'm going to hit the summarize button. So while it summarizes in the background, I'll talk a little bit more. We can mess a little bit with temperature, which is meaning if we're unfamiliar with what temperature means in an LLM model, we're talking about the ability for the model to reproduce creative outlet. So the higher the temperature, the more creative, the less constraints we'll have in the generation of this output. The lower the temperature, the more it will be confined to just the content itself. We can also look at, I push this into English, but we can push this into a variety of other languages as well. It's generating that summary now, and it should be popping up in just a minute.
Imagine how
Otherwise-
many news emissions a TV channel would have per year. Probably more than 365, right?
Right, and we have, of course, clients in public sector as well, who have a lot of content. And of course, if you know anything about public sector, there's always that challenge of just a mountain of work that has to be done, and through regulation and everything, it has to be still done and get done by a certain period of time. So they are always looking for fast efficiency models to get that kind of first pass content creation side of this. And that's what we're doing here. It is kind of content creation at this point. So we have this summary, and it's produced it. We're looking at it's roughly a third of the size of the previous one. If we wanted to pull this in a little bit more, we could change and leave constraints on a number of sentences, how big we want this, how large we need this to be. In longer videos, that can be maybe a lot more important. We don't want this to run on for pages when we're looking for a summary. One thing to remember when we're looking at LLM models is whenever we put a constraint on the output, it is a suggestion. LLMs, they're not going to take to heart that we want this to be 42 characters. It is a challenge that we see in subtitling. It's something that, of course, a lot of people are working on to improve, but it's still, LLMs think of, oh, that's cute, it's a suggestion. So if we say 2 sentences, it might be 2, maybe 3 sentences. If we say we want it at 50 words, it's going to be about 50 words. So we're still trying to dial in. We, as the makers of Alcalad is not a maker of an LLM engine, but those who are in that industry are working hard to try to come up with ways to solve that, either through prompting or other work. And so we can do this here, and that's really kind of what if we want, we can focus on key areas. If it's a longer video and we want, maybe it's a product video, and we are looking to focus on key areas of that product for maybe certain markets, we can kind of fine tune it. And that's where that prompting really works well. And of course, if we want,
Christian, there's a question in the chat.
Of course.
Yes, asking if the video, if the tool parses the video, or does it summarize the transcript that you already have, which I think is the latter. But
correct. Right now, it is summarizing the transcript. So if you had a video that was completely without dialogue, we would have to look at a different way to capture a summarization. This is really pulling that transcript information and summarizing that content.
Question to Catel. So summaries of news similar to summaries of TV episodes, TV shows. So if you look at a streamer like Netflix, it has hundreds of TV shows with hundreds of episodes. So it's potentially thousands or tens of thousands of episodes, each of which needs some kind of summary in each of the languages. Potentially, it's a big amount of content. How is it done today? Is it manual?
Well, today I can't be 100% sure, but when I was at Netflix, it was
when
done
you were at Netflix,
manually. It was done manually. You had creators, writers who were writing the summaries for the shows, synopsis for the shows or movies, but also at the episode level. Depending on the priority of the content, you may have some content that didn't have summaries at the episode level, but this is very manual. So I think this could be like a really big help in maybe reaching, some content that would not normally get a summary, for instance. So that could be a good way to fill that gap. I'm curious, Christian, in your experience with the news content, would the script include dialogue? So let's say you have, the journalist, is actually, there's a voiceover that describes what's going on, but you may have like pieces of interview or people talking, more generally. Is that normally captured as part of the transcription, or you've seen that there's some stuff that is left out? What's your experience of it?
No, it's a full. So with looking at ASR technology, it's a full transcript of all audio dialogue in there. So if there are interviews that are going on, because it's not trying to constrain the content that falls in, that transcript is really going to be where that kind of main source is going to come from. And so if there were extensive interviews, if there was even if song lyrics were coming up in this video, that's going to be pulling in as well.
Okay, cool. I'm sorry, I just need to step out for a second. I'll be right back.
Of course.
Let's summarize this theoretical part and move on to the practical part. Antoine, Christian, would you like to add any use cases, or that's good enough for now? Any other applications, like maybe briefly touch upon how else GenAI is being used at the moment in the workflows of media localization outside of the applications that we've covered, such as summaries, translation, creative assistance, template preparation, quality checks.
Yes, quality checks, mostly.
Yeah, so we've covered most.
I mean, well, there's a whole other option in rating. I think we kind of briefly touched on that, and rating content for children, as I think Antoine touched on a little bit, but also rating it for inclusive content, inclusive language, that can be very important to a lot of companies who are looking to make sure that their messaging is resonating. So being able to evaluate that and maybe even offer suggestions on how to improve inclusive language into the content is also an area that we've been exploring as well.
I think, I totally agree with this. And as I said before, I'm just repeating myself, but the big challenge that a lot of streamers notably have is the scale, is the volume of content. And so you have guidelines and you rely on your translators and others who are touching the content to actually follow these guidelines. But these people are human and they are not infallible and they will make mistakes. So anything that you can bring that allows you to not just sample things, but have a much more a broader view on it and being able to actually flag potential issues is a huge help. In the same way that, we're starting to see really interesting stuff with GenAI around quality evaluation. Quality evaluation has been traditionally done, through sampling of content, and then you have an expert who, looks at what the expectations are and grades and gives a scorecard. But now we're starting to look at GenAI being able to look not just at samples, but at everything and flag issues, that then can go to the expert. And I think this is where, in the volume that you have, especially with entertainment content, but also news and, generally media content is exploding, video content is exploding. And so that volume is very, very difficult for, a few individuals to grasp and being able to have their eyes everywhere. And so individuals, of course, will touch each piece of content, but these are all separate people who come with their own background and they will make mistakes. So anything that can help you reach that result is a great place. The example that Christian just gave around sensitive language is an excellent one. It's a great use case, really.
For the text, we've made this kind of chart of different stages of the text localization process, such as preparation of the source, translation, helping the creatives transfer in style and then controlling quality. So here are some of the cases where GenAI is used in text. Probably a lot of this is pertinent to media localization, but media localization has more, right? It has the picture, so audio description is a button area once the better connection between prompts, pictures, videos, and LLMs is established. Templates we discovered today, which is a unique thing to media. And quality controls with video, where the picture changes and the subtitle must change with the camera plan change. These things are, I think, coming up. Okay, I think we've covered nicely the what I call it theoretical part, or the use cases where GenAI can be applied. Are you ready to go to the prompts?
Certainly.
Certainly. So who
Kind of.
will, as we agreed, are you keeping me as the hands of the operation, or
Yes.
somebody wants to take? I'm the hands. Okay. Excellent. So we'll start with something small. Let me prepare my screen, and we'll write a prompt together for media localization. We've tested it prior with Anton, and Anton, many thanks for invaluable assistance and advice. Here are some of the prompts we've done. I must say that initially for this webinar, I plan to use Disney material as examples. So we wanted to go with Aladdin or Lion King because it's very relatable. Cattell told me that I shouldn't touch Disney. It's very good for kids, but it's very risky for adults to use the content.
You know, just in
You didn't
case.
say this, you implied this. So instead, I'm going to share a bit of the French culture with you today. Now, there's a movie which is considered one of the best French comedies of all time, and everybody knows that film. Antoine already smiles because he knows the name of the film.
Yes, I'm sure, but nobody
let's
knows
see
it
how Cattell reacts.
outside of France.
Wait, I can see the title here.
You can see the title.
It is a great movie. Yes.
We're going to work with Le Dîner des Cons, which is translated into English as schmuck dinner, right? Or dinner of schmucks. I'll open on YouTube a clip. So it's a French comedy where rich people, the thing guy here represents rich people. They meet for dinner and for entertainment. They each one of them has to bring in an idiot. So they have a nice dinner, very civil, but secretly the rich people are making fun of the poorer people that they brought. So this kind of middle class guy on the left is being made fun of, but in the course of comedy, of course, they become interdependent and they switch roles, because it's the rich people who end up being the idiots. So very, very excellent movie made in what, 1998, I think. Who remembers? I don't know.
I don't, but that sounds about right. It's older. I see seeing Thierry Lhermitte's how young he is on the picture. Yes, I think so.
Right. So in this episode, I took just a small batch of subtitles. The rich guy is trying to get the poor guy to locate his wife, because he thinks that his wife is leaving him or cheating on him, something like that. And they have a conversation. So I have a bit of that conversation here. Let me go here and show you the prompt. Right. So this is the original. Let me show you. This is the original text in French. Right, so he's asking the bigger guy to call somebody and pretend to be another person to get in contact with his wife. And I have the human translation here. So this is coming from some of the online subtitling. Hold on, no, it's the wrong translation. Hold on. There we go. So here's the part that is being described. Right, so there we go. This is the human. This is the machine, and let's see how GenAI model does the transcription in the first place. There are some problems with the subtitles that you will see in the middle. Catel, can you point some of the problems here that you see from your eyes with the French subtitles?
You're just running a translation here, yeah?
Yes, it's just first the translation without a good prompt that Antoine has prepared.
Yeah.
Right, so, okay, so it's already generated. We'll skip the part with the problems. Let's see, human versus machine. Line by line, you can see that it's very, very close, right? Is it clear, or should I make it bigger?
No, I think that's fine.
And so it says, sometimes I feel you think I'm an idiot. Sometimes I feel you take me for an idiot. I think even the machine could be better in some cases. Right, it's more detailed. And so it's already not bad, but there is a problem. And the problem is that on screen, some of these lines are too long. And the dialogue here is not split into two lines. So here is dialogue, for example, where to reach his collaborator, what collaborator. It should be actually short lines, one after under another in a practical subtitle on a streaming platform. Is that right? Am I being in the right direction? Correct me, because I'm not a media localization expert.
So I think there are two things. If you compare the human translation to the machine translation, the human translation is shorter. And the reason we do that is because, this readability. As we want people to be able to read it without any difficulty, we have a criteria, which is they can't read more than 17 characters per second. It's far from perfect, but it's something to... so if you have a look, most of the time, the human translation will be shorter. Look at the second line. Of course, I can do it. What do I have to say? And the human translation, of course, I can. What do I say? And that's it. And I think it's the right way to do it. And just because we want it to be easier to read. So this is the first point. And the second point, and this one is very complicated. And the second point is on most platforms, on most, even on your TV sets, there should be no more than 37 to 42 characters per line, 2 lines of 42 characters. That's why, as you can see, the human translation also is on 2 lines.
Okay, so some problems with this transcription. It should be shorter, and it should be max 42 characters per line.
Yes.
Now I'll switch back to the editing interface. You can see that my prompt was very short. In professional environments, it's not written like this. So we're going to do live an introduction of a couple of instructions and see how that changes the performance of the model. And while we do that, I'll try to explain some of the best practices in prompt writing that normally people who are not a part of GenAI click, they don't follow. So first, I separate the instructions and different parts of the prompt into chapters. Right, so instructions. Antoine, what would be the instructions? Keep every line as short as possible, right?
Yes, but you will have to add some tricks, like without making it awkward, without losing the meaning of the initial text, because if not, it will be very short.
Yes.
Okay, we can try. But usually there's a lot of safeguards. How do you say? No?
Guardrails, safeguards, yes.
Yes.
Let's give it another. The maximum number of characters per line should be 42 after the time codes, right?
Mhm.
And if the line is longer than 42 characters, break the line in 2 lines.
Okay, we can try that
Like
one.
this. I can also add a role. So role play is something that these models do really, really well. So I'm going to add a role
Yep.
chapter. You are a professional subtitler working from French to English.
Yep.
Shall we go?
Why does that help specifically? Do you know? To have a role in there.
There are many things that help the model understand what we want. This is roles, also politeness, emotion, saying that this is very important for me. Okay, so garbled this up a little bit. So we need to add an instruction. Let's first compare it with what we had. If you tell me exactly what to say, you can do it. You take me for a fool. So it replaced idiot with a fool because it's shorter.
Mhm.
It didn't go very much into shortening this, but the lines have become shorter. We need to add a line which says, how do we make it list every line on a separate line? How to phrase it correctly?
Sorry, can you repeat?
So as you can see here in the use,
Yes.
it garbled up everything. There is no line breaks between the lines. I want
Between
it to go line by line. How about I say, list the subtitles line by line. Let's see if it works.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or format each event as a separate line.
Okay.
I don't know. Will I understand what an event is?
I think it's Netflix vocabulary. Nobody
Oh,
uses
sorry.
it, an event.
I'm not sure it is all. Anyway.
I think so. I'm not
While
sure.
we are generating, I'll check quickly on LinkedIn Live if there are questions and revert to the screen. All right. I don't see any questions coming up right now, but we are still strong in the audience. And despite this being 1 hour or long already, people are still with us and they are giving us some thumbs ups specifically to your speech, Anton. Okay, go back to my shared screen. Okay, this has been generated by now. And this looks like more like what we asked for it. So we made chapters, we asked for every line separately, and
But
and
it did
it's
not.
perfect.
We noticed that it did not split lines over
No, it
42
didn't.
characters.
No, that's
so
no,
so
no
it got
splitting.
confused by that instruction.
Maybe we should tell it to split the dialogue lines as well. What do
Yes.
you think?
Yeah. We can also have it report back the number of characters as a count. Most subtitling tools can do that for you, but in this case, because we don't have it in there, we can kind of see where it's confusing that too.
By the
Right,
end, you could ask it to do that. Yeah.
what else? So guide me. You are my bosses. Tell me what to do. I'm the hands of the operation.
Right, so at the end of each line, report back the number of characters using the same verbiage we had in line 3, the number of characters after the time code.
Good enough?
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay. Generate the result. Should save the prompt. I could also switch to Antoine's prompt, which is already perfect. and we're just going through the thought process here.
Sorry for the coughing. The thing is, I don't know about this LLM. Every test I made was made with ChatGPT.
We can switch to GPT-4. I'm using
just we can have a look and see how it does.
All right, so let's do one with each. All right, garbled it again. So let's discard Claude. We don't like it anymore. We're going to switch back to GPT-4 and try this again. Will take some time. In the meanwhile, let me open up Antoine's prompt and show you.
Yes, but mine was much simpler than yours because it was only about splitting.
Oh, it was about line treatment.
Yes, it was just line treatment because I wanted to make it short, you know, and what I wanted to show is really that we took the guidelines as it was written by Cattell and just put it in the prompt, and that's it. And that's magic.
Yeah. Do we have the same material here? Okay. And
so
this
that's the thing. I think that's a good point that Antoine is bringing. You can actually, so you can write your prompt, but you can also copy, instructions and from guidelines. So in terms of subtitling, the Netflix time text style guides are readily available publicly. And you can use sections of it or all of it, whatever, as part of your prompt to help you get to the right result. So this is not confidential information. This is like readily available. You can find it and you can copy and paste the pieces that suit your purpose. So
let's give a moment of gratitude to Netflix localization team, which made those guidelines available.
And it's so nice because now if we ask a client about their specification, they tell us if it is good for Netflix, it's good for us.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, it's really a reference now.
Yeah, I mean, it's become a standard in the industry, I believe, and
yeah,
and it, and there's a lot of effort and time put into making sure those style guides are up to date and thorough. So it's really worth using them.
Thank you. Back to the generation. I'm pushing ahead in the interest of time. We can see that it added the characters, but it didn't do I did the
you notice, yeah, you notice also it gave us our character count too.
Yeah,
and for the most part, it looks like it adhered to it pretty strongly.
It still
didn't see any.
It didn't split per speaker, so like that line, for instance, it will never work. But yes, I understood that should be on 2 lines. Maybe we didn't specify this, did we?
We did not specify that. So
there you go.
the only specification we had was if it broke 42 characters, then split.
That's right. Yeah.
The thing is, and if I have a look at the number, I'm pretty sure they are wrong.
Oh.
Because no, but it's funny because I tried with ChatGPT. Just tell me how many characters are there in that sentence, and usually it's very wrong. Not that wrong, meaning, but between 45 and 42, it doesn't really carry. And if you look at it, it's the same number of characters almost on each line. Yes, Notepad++ will help you to.
Okay, I'm going to spend a minute on checking.
Yes, no, but and it's really.
So it's like annoying. My kid doing homework. And said, "Yeah, I did it all right, Dad."
Yeah. Did you brush your teeth? Yeah.
I did. I always do. Yes, Mom.
This is quite interesting. Like Antoine, you were talking about this earlier, like how the model just decides not to follow instructions. It's really how very human of it, really.
Too much.
Yes. So then this is why you still need the experts to check stuff,
Yeah.
So Antoine's right? So it in some cases it's longer, right? Even though it's written 42 here.
Oh wow.
It adds maybe 4 or 5 characters with the number. The actual number is 59.
Oh.
Is it not taking spaces into account?
Perhaps we can work around that.
Oh, that's a good point.
Okay, if you can make it work, I will just hire you because I never managed to make it work.
Yeah, maybe it was counting without the without the.
It's great to know I have job security.
No, sure.
So I'll do another split to have the accurate number. So, okay, some lines got garbled, but yeah, 55 here and 42 here. So
Yes.
it was wrong.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
And this is one of the reasons it's still very complicated to use it for subtitling, because there's a lot of constraints that we have to respect. If not, it won't work.
Yeah.
So that usually what we do on our side for now, we start with translation without any constraints. Then we will compute the length of the subtitle on our side. We don't rely on ChatGPT to give us the length. And if we think that we should shorten it, we'll ask it to shorten it.
Right.
But we don't rely on ChatGPT to count. It's
Yeah.
funny because it's so good at many things. Like, okay, can you just find all the sentences that could hurt or upset a young child, and it will do it very well. But if you ask him just a simple stuff as how many characters are there in that sentence,
Yeah, it's not good at counting.
no, and not very good at counting. And subtitling is a lot about counting.
Okay, let's do another use case and try a summary. Christian already proved that summaries work.
Sorry, Katie, can I interrupt? There's a question.
Yes.
It's about like the guidelines, which can be, many, and some of them are conflicting, and subtitlers know how to prioritize versus a machine. So the question, are LLMs able to follow multiple prompts at once? I mean, I think we've shown that they are, but at the same time, we also shown that some of it, which I would think something like length restrictions would be pretty basic for a machine to follow, but somehow doesn't want to do that.
Well,
which is
the counting is not built in the machine. It's built to detect text. So
Yeah.
it does the counting, but by looking at a big database of text, and if within that database somebody counted characters, or I don't know, did similar reasoning with arithmetic, maybe it can bring it up. It doesn't count like a calculator.
Right.
Mhm.
It's a predictive
Okay.
model, so it's predicting the next result that it thinks that you have. So
Right.
exactly. So
Yes.
exactly what's being said there.
Yes.
We've solved that problem already. We don't need an LLM to do it.
That is not an actual problem that we have, but yeah, but
it was good.
it's still funny, really.
Yeah, I think it illustrates kind of that limitation that it can't do everything.
Yeah.
And but in this case, we were trying to see if it could kind of at least see if it was doing its own math and checking its own work. We found it. It wasn't.
Mathematics is not its strong suit. It's how do you?
What's interesting is like actual math, it does really well at. But if you're trying to make it do equations and solve that kind of work, it can do that well. Counting, maybe not so much.
Okay. I want to push forward. Let's move away from this embarrassing episode. Okay. For today, we also prepared a film script summarization. And
one thing to go back to that question on multiple prompts, the challenge is exactly what they illustrated earlier, that sometimes in the time text style guide there, you may see conflicting results. Those conflicts will happen in here, and that is kind of the key to having multiple prompts, is to look at all the prompts and make sure they do not go in conflict. And good prompt writing is where you will try to either remove it. So you either are going to segment what you want in that prompt to remove the conflict and do that first pass, and then add in the next level of conflict, you as the human deciding which one is the more important aspect to control. So it can just be aware that the more prompts you get in there, the more conflict can arise within its instructions. So making it clear, delineating out, maybe we had problems where we were typing, looking at length too many times. And so it started to see those as conflicts and not produce the results.
No, to kind of second your point, In my team, I have a prompt engineer who follows a rule of one instruction per prompt. He chains the prompts in a script, but each prompt has only one instruction, so they're extremely short. He will run the prompt multiple times with different instructions, but for each instruction, he builds one prompt into the software.
And if we looked at what Antoine did that was successful, he did not take the entire style guide of what Netflix, because it's just gonna get buried.
It's
He
good to
focused
make
on
a scale of
Yeah, so what I got, you have to give him the time to think. Meaning too much work at the same time? No, I'll tell you something, but it probably won't be right. So you have to let it speak.
Okay, great. We've brought out some of this advice for prompt writers, how to structure into chapters, to keep it short, to have fewer instructions, better. This is useful material for those of us who are learning prompt engineering and getting enough verbal ammunition to hold their own in a conversation with somebody who talks all LLM and AI, right? So, Katel, if you were again in the bio shows and somebody would come to you and start doing the AI lingo in a boardroom, you would be able to put them down immediately with enough of your questions and details. So it's very practical.
I just want to say that it's not about pushing back on AI. I think it's about trying to educate yourself sufficiently so that you can speak intelligently about it and be open-minded about it. Where does it make sense to use it? What else can we do to make things, more reliable, more efficient, and also, complement the work that humans are doing. I think this is how I think about it. But we know, that sometimes people want to use it for everything, and it's good to be open-minded and have, and try stuff, but it might not work all the time, for sure.
For the movie summarization script, I first downloaded the script of Les Dîners de Con and pushed it through the prompt. However, the result was plausible and good. However, then I tried to do it without giving it the script, and my result was that it works even without giving it material, right? So please give me a synopsis for the movie Le Dîner de Con.
So here the information comes from the web, right? It comes from readily
It
available.
comes from its database, which is Wikipedia, which is websites, Common Crawl. So it already knows it.
Yeah.
So the experiment has polluted. So what I did, I went to a website which offered movie scripts for movies that were never made. Right. So I cheated and I found a family movie called Halloween Heroes, the short one. So this is the script. You can see it's with the kids, and it's never been published. So when I do ask ChatGPT, please give me a synopsis for the movie. Let's see what happens. No idea. I don't know, tells me ChatGPT, right? Experiment is clean. Now.
Okay, that's interesting because you found the script online, so the script is available.
The script is available, but the crawlers that throw the internet for all the data, they don't necessarily pick up everything. The internet is just too vast and infinite.
Right. So it's not necessarily in the model, is what's basically saying. It did not either find this as part of its core content that was in the LLM, and that's why also it was kind of trying to default and say that maybe this was done after 2022.
Maybe. Anyway, so I have no idea about that movie. I haven't seen it. It was never made. It's a few pages of script. Voila. It's a normal script and the model doesn't know about it. Now, let's see, our temperature is 0, GPT-4 Turbo. Let's see if it works. It will take a minute to churn because it's a movie script, but voila, you have a plausible script of enough characters. So it does work, and it can get the plot from between the lines. I don't know if you trust in the synopsis. None of us have read the script, obviously.
Right.
Okay, and you can ask it to make it shorter, for instance.
Yes. So how shorter?
How about
Two sentences.
yeah, 2 sentences, yeah.
And so this is also illustrating the fact that you have provided all the content for the model to review, which is going to be the best case scenario. It's not going to try and pull details outside.
2 sentences.
Mm-hmm.
How about 140 characters?
Twitter.
Old tweeting.
No, but that's what you have on Netflix, for instance, for
Okay.
the
So it's not only Twitter. Twitter is dead. X is.
X. Right.
Different powers must stop a villain so as to find. See,
It looks absolutely like a kid's movie.
Yep.
Show it to the chimpanzees in the other room.
Yeah.
All right, so that one worked. That was what I prepared for today. Shall we try some other prompting, or let's have a look at the questions? I'll check LinkedIn to see if the audience has asked us questions. No, but we still have 66 people there online watching. Nice. So shall we do another prompt, answer a question, or wrap up? Let's have a look. Maybe some finishing words, gentleman and a lady. What have we learned today?
No, I just think that some of the prompts here are really interesting. And again, it's about finding the stuff that is the most painful to you in your workflows, and how could this help you, get better. Filling gaps, stuff that currently is not done. So like the summarization here, maybe for low visibility content, stuff that very few people are going to watch, that could be good enough. I mean, of course, there's still the question here. We didn't read the script. I have no idea if that's really the story. It's likely that it is. But you want to make sure that you're not misrepresenting the content as well, because that can be an issue. But I think it could fill in some gaps at the episode level, especially. That could be interesting, although you'll have to think about stuff like, should you be avoiding spoilers, for instance? And can an NLM, can they understand the concept of spoiler? Like, what is it? And, and is it acceptable to have it or not? And in some cultures, they want spoilers, and others they don't. And, all this kind of stuff needs to be tweaked and worked with. But I think, that could be some interesting use cases to actually fill in those gaps and make it and help you reach that scale, which is, I think, one of the big challenges, with the streamers notably, but media content generally.
Thank
you. Christian? Antoine, you get the last word.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think the main thing is understanding that this technology can be there to help you. It is something that it does take work, as you saw in what we just provided here. No prompt was just magically going to work right away. It had levels of success, and we have to work at that prompt to kind of generate the results that we want. And then, of course, knowing when to back off and realize that, okay, a human effort is still going to be worth doing this, as opposed to, wasting more time and deep diving into the iteratives of the next level of prompt, because you're so close. But at some point, you have to back off, and realize what's going to work for you. But it's open for I think its power is that it's open to so many use cases, and it's you know, we have an AI ambassador program within Accolade. We you know, I'm part of that program, and we are constantly trying to find new ways of working with this thing in our daily life and in our operational life, you know, and what we can do with clients. So it is out there. Explore it more. It's open for all. So kind of push in there, see what it can do for you.
Thank you. Antoine.
What can I say? The good thing about it is linguists are very excited with it because now they have superpowers, you know, because they just use language to tell the computer how to do things. And because of that, it's very exciting. And so no, it's most of the time, even linguists were very upset with machine translation. Now we can talk together. Oh yes, it can do that. Yes, okay, maybe you can. So yes, it's most of the time it's very exciting. A lot of tries and errors, but very funny.
It's a very great message to wrap it up. Reconciliation here.
And to this point, Antoine, I think it's really important to see, like, you don't need an engineer to write these prompts. Like linguists, you know, translators, subtitlers can do this themselves. And that puts the power in their hands, you know, as well. I mean, of course, when you operate at scale, you don't want like each person to be writing their prompts, and, you know, you want to try and standardize things and you want to make it efficient. But, you know, if you're a language specialist, you know, inside a company, if you're a language manager, and that power is yours. You don't need like to have engineering resources to do this, and we know they're impossible to get. So, you know, that's I think is really exciting, and I hope that translators and linguists and, you know, folks in the language industry really understand that and really dive into this.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed. The conversation was very amicable, and bienvenue à webinar, Antoine. So it's your, as you said, it's
my first one. Yes, thank you for that.
Your debut appearance. Media localization will benefit from you appearing more often. I know not only the linguists are excited. In our preparation meetings, you showed me how many things are already built in your tools and your software, and how you are writing the prompts. So of course, everybody is excited about this. Despite a whole year, which has passed since the wave, which has raised so many sales, the interest is still strong, and there are still many things to discover and how to adapt it and how to make it work better. This is an exciting area to apply oneself to. I wish you successful experiments and happy subtitling, probably doing all the description, templates, quality checks, and other media localization workflow. And we'll see each other very soon online. Thank you. Have a good
Thank you, everyone. Thank
rest
you.
of the
everyone.
day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.